the big idea, it's not about the lesson. It's about the real meat of what is happening. So, and I learned this in college, I could stretch any lesson across disciplines without any problem at all. Just throw something in there and it might not match. But if you're going to make it real life, like what we do every day, what disciplines would it entail? And then also at the same time, what ways is that discipline being used in real life?
For some of the forms that big ideas can be simple, concepts, themes that you see throughout literature and life and everything. So I want you to take a second to look at those and think about that.
Whenever I look at these, I don't see the typical lessons. What I see are ideas. They're things that you discuss with kids. They're they're things that you discuss with other adults too. So it's not just looking at a set of standards that we teach in our curriculum or whatever it is, and doing activities to go along with it. It is about really digging in, and it might be that we are coming up with lots of different things. If you look at that theories, when this one just jumped out at me for some reason, down the third one down, it's Atkins diet. And so the theory of the Atkins diet, okay? So if you were teaching a health class, and it would be, what is health? Is the Atkins diet health? And then you could go into the whole idea of, didn't the guy who created that die of a heart attack?
Or
something like that. So along those lines, it's instead of just learning about counting calories and that sort of thing, this is a deep look at multiple pieces of the same discipline, actually.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to my standards, and I'm going to think about what in here are the big concepts and ideas based on what I know about big ideas. And I want to think about what are some of the ideas that kids are going to encounter in other subjects in their life or in other lessons that they're learning. And so whenever I think about it, I think about those things that you see in everything. So one thing that I was really thinking about is classification. There's something almost everything, probably everything can be classified in one way or another. Some characteristic about something puts it in a group. So I feel like classification is a big idea from these standards. I feel like structure is a big idea from these standards. Structure. There's something about structure, like people structure their lives. Their bodies are a structure. We live in structures, that kind of stuff. Structure is there. And then structure, I found, coincided with function. Structure and function go together. Everything has a function. Everything has that. So those are my big ideas that I took from when I was looking at these standards. And I wrote my big ideas as just short phrases that are everything can be classified in structure, age, function. So I was thinking about my standards and what kids need to know. And these were the big ideas, the things that I would have my kids focus on from those standards. If we're thinking about plants and animals, and we're thinking about classifying them, well, then that takes you to the next thing. What else can be classified? Well, rocks can be classified. Well, periods of time can be classified. All that stuff, and they can bring that into other subjects. And then when I thought about structure aids function, well, why is something structured this way? Why is our school day structured from 8 to 3 or whatever, you know? Is that an aid to function? Is that a dis-aid to, you know, like a disservice to function? That kind of stuff. So all of those things help kids think about the bigger picture, and they use what they know about the classification of plants and animals and the structure of, you know, body parts and that kind of stuff, and how that can affect things that they experience in their everyday life. So what we'll do now is, I like that one. Krista even suggested what characteristics create classification. So thinking about characteristics, everything can be classified based on a characteristic, and then they might have multiple characteristics that put them in multiple classifications too. So what I want you to do is think about, from your standards, some of the big ideas, some of those things that are going to be timeless, that are going to be across the board for kids, some of those concepts and ideas and beliefs that are going to reappear in their lives. What kinds of words are you guys seeing that are kind of those big concepts, big ideas in your standards? Are there any keywords that are kind of keying you into or helping you think of some big ideas?
Well, one of mine is definitely like writing, because that's how we're going to there's a school calling me.
So what is writing? Like, what is writing?
Well, it's a way to express our ideas and to help teach others.
Okay.
To get the information from one person to another.
Okay, so what's that called? Kind of in like a bigger...
It's a way to communicate.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where I'm going with this, but...
So what is something like that you could say about communication? Like what is the purpose of your kids communicating with these other kids? Or, you know, they're not directly face-to-face doing it, but what would be their purpose? Like, what's the big idea of this communicating? Why would they do it? This can answer that question, why?
Basically, I mean, because of where they're from, we want them to have equality in the education that we have. So we're writing to share that knowledge with them. Does that make sense?
It does to me.
Yeah.
But look at that question I just put up there in the chat.
Well, as far as what I was thinking is like equal is in Uganda with the school they don't have the resources like the books. They don't have availability to help learn different languages. They don't have that funding. So they're reaching out to others.
And so thinking of the big idea, how can education be equal? Or maybe it's not even just education. How can resources be equal? Let me type that in. So if you're thinking of how can resources be equal, and then looking at not necessarily your lesson the way that you've got it planned out now, but you still have the idea of that. What you're wanting to do is create equality for people who don't have that. And so what if it's not just related to this one group? I mean, think about people in Joplin right now who might not have a coat. Okay, are those resources equal? So it spans lots of different things there. And now the school is calling me.
They called me. I pushed the button and ignored it. So is the concept then equity?
I think it could be.
something that you want the kids to think about, something that can be arguable, because, I think there's lots of things that we can try. And it's equal the same for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, does someone, or equal is the same for everyone because that's just the meaning of the word. But fairness almost. It's the same thing, fair or right or perfect or whatever for everyone.
Yeah.
What about you, Lori? What kinds of things are you seeing?
Well, comparing this chart you showed us, I was, mine kind of falls in, I was thinking, the American dream. Every American wants to be successful at whatever they do, and mine, they're creating their business and they want their business to be successful. And then I was also thinking, function, that doing what they're doing this project is going to give them the tools, in their tool belt to be able to possibly one day create, all the multimedia type things they need to go along with maybe a business or a job. And then definitely decision making is one. They have to make decisions, on, exactly how am I going to do this part of the project, or how am I going to create what I need to create.
Okay. So then would you say the decisions that they make could affect success?
Yeah, definitely. And it helps them think about whether
Stay warm.
Decisions in life, whether they be good or bad, they all produce something.
And that's kind of that big point that we're wanting to try and get across, especially to those 8th graders that we worked with specifically on digital citizenship. You know what I mean? That decisions affect success. So, yeah, I think that could be a big one. That is, what if someone looks at your ad and sees something in it that, like, my husband, he looks at ads whenever he is looking for contract labor, and if he sees certain things, he's like, I'm not hiring that person,
Yeah.
just because of his past experiences. So if those kids put that in their ads and Jonathan was to evaluate them, he would say, yeah, I probably would not use that business,
Yeah.
And
exactly.
so, yeah, so thinking about those things, yeah, I like, decisions and success and how they relate.
It also can be debatable because how do you measure success?
Good.
Yeah.
I like that.
So whenever you think about your lesson and think about what are kids really doing, is it a big idea or is it a lesson that you've retrofitted to make sure that all disciplines were included in it? Look at the especially the last 4. And does your big idea hold those 4 questions?